Good morning, and Hoops fans. Big Al here on this Monday, February 6th, 2023. And it's about that time where I take a look at standings in the NBA and in the NHL, plus the playoff races for both leagues. And stick around to the end. I will give you my Super Bowl 57 prediction. All right, with that being said, let's jump into the NBA standings through February 5th. Starting off in the Eastern Conference, as always, where the Boston Celtics continue to have the NBA's best record, but not by a whole lot. They're now 37-16 with a 698 win percentage, 6-4 in their last 10 games, including a loss in their last game. In second place are the Philadelphia 76ers at 34-18 and a win percentage of 654. They trailed the Celtics by 2.5 games. They're 8-2 in their last 10, including a loss in their most previous game. Third place are the Brooklyn Nets, 32-30, 615 win percentage, 4.5 games behind Boston. Sorry about that. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, including a win in their recent game. Fourth place, the New York Knicks, 29-26, 527 win percentage. 9 games behind Boston, 4-6 in their last 10, including a win in their previous contest. And still sitting in last place are the Toronto Raptors at 25-30, 455 win percentage, 13 games behind the Celtics, 5-5 in their last 10, including back-to-back wins. All right, the Central Division leading Milwaukee Bucks are just 1 game behind Boston for the best record in the association at 36-17, 679 win percentage. And they are hot right now, 9-1 in their last 10, including 7 straight wins. Second place are the Cleveland Cavaliers, 33-22 with a 600 win percentage. They trail the Bucks by 4 games. They are 5-5 in their last 10, including back-to-back wins. In third place, you have the Chicago Bulls, 25-27, 481 win percentage. 10.5 games behind the Bucks, 6-4 in their last 10 games, including 2 straight wins. In fourth place, you have the ice-cold Indiana Pacers at 25-30. That's a 455 win percentage. They're trailing Milwaukee by 12 games. They're 2-8 in their last 10, including a loss in their last game. And sitting with the worst record in the Eastern Conference in fifth place are the Detroit Pistons, 14-40, which is a 259 win percentage. 22.5 games behind Milwaukee, 3-7 in their last 10, including a loss in their most recent game. Over in the Southeast Division, the Miami Heat leads the way here at 29-25, which is a 537 win percentage. 5-5 in their last 10 games, including 2 straight losses. Second place are the Atlanta Hawks, 27-27, which is a 500 record. 2 games behind Miami. They're also 5-5 in their last 10 games, including a loss in their most recent game. In third place are the Washington Wizards, 24-28, 462 win percentage. They trail the Heat by 4 games. They're 6-4 over their last 10, including back-to-back losses. Fourth place are the Orlando Magic, 22-32 with a 407 win percentage. They are 7 games behind the Heat, 6-4 in their last 10, including back-to-back wins. And slipping down into fifth place are the Charlotte Hornets. Well, they're fully emerged in fifth place at 15-40. 273 win percentage. They trail the Heat by 14.5 games. And they're a little bit cold too. 4-6 in their last 10 games, including 4 straight losses. All right. The top 6 would clinch playoff spots, while 7 through 10 would make the play-in tournament. The top seed and hanging on by a thread are the Boston Celtics at 37-16. In the number 2 seed, you have the red hot Milwaukee Bucks at 36-17. The Philadelphia 76ers fall back into third at 34-18. Then it's the Brooklyn Nets at 32-20, sitting in that number 4 spot. The Cleveland Cavaliers at 33-22 in the number 5 spot. And the Miami Heat at 29-25 in the number 6 spot. The 4 teams that would make the play-in tournament are the New York Knicks at 29-26. They're the number 7 seed right now. The Atlanta Hawks at 27-27. They would get in as the number 8 seed. The Chicago Bulls at 25-27, they're the number 9 seed. And the Washington Wizards would take that 10th and final playoff spot in the play-in tournament at 24-28. Indiana and Toronto, both 25-30, would only be a half game out of the play-in tournament. Orlando at 22-32 would be 3 games out. There would be Charlotte at 15-40. They would sit at the present time 10.5 games out. And Detroit at 14-40 would be 11 games out. Over to the Western Conference. The Memphis Grizzlies are still on top of the Southwest Division at 32-21. 604 win percentage. And they've kind of gone in the wrong direction in the last few weeks. 2-8 in their last 10 games, including 3 straight losses. Sitting in second place are the Dallas Mavericks, 28-26, 519 win percentage. 4.5 games behind Memphis, 4-6 in their last 10, including a loss in their most recent game. In third place are the New Orleans Pelicans, 28-27, 509 win percentage. They trailed the Grizzlies by 5 games, but they're still pretty cold. 2-8 in their last 10 games, but they have won back-to-back games. Fourth place are the frigid San Antonio Spurs, 14-39, 264 win percentage, 18 games behind Memphis, 1-9 in their last 10 games, including 8 straight losses. So as of right now, the Spurs have the longest current losing streak in the NBA. Overall, the 5th place Houston Rockets have the worst record in the entire league at 13-40, which is a 245 win percentage. They are 19 games down behind the Memphis Grizzlies, 3-7 in their last 10 games, including back-to-back losses. Now to the Northwest Division, where it continues to be a runaway. The Denver Broncos are not the Denver Broncos, but the Denver Nuggets, rather, are 37-17, owners of the best record in the West, 685 win percentage, 6-4 in their last 10 games, but they did lose their last game. Second place is the Minnesota Timberwolves, 29-27, 518 win percentage, 9 games behind the Nuggets. 7-3 in their last 10, including a victory in their most recent game. Then in third place, you have the Utah Jazz back with a 500 record at 27-27. They are 10 games behind Denver. 6-4 in their last 10, including a loss in their most recent game. Finally, out of the cellar and into fourth place are the Portland Trailblazers. 26-27, 491 win percentage. They're 10.5 games behind Denver. 5-5 in their last 10 games, including a loss in their most recent contest. And back in last place are the Oklahoma City Thunder. 25-27, 481 win percentage. They trailed Denver by 11 games. 6-4 in their last 10, including a win in their most recent game. And finally, the Pacific Division, led by the Sacramento Kings. 29-23, 558 win percentage. 5-5 in their last 10 games, including back-to-back losses. In second place are the Los Angeles Clippers. 30-26, 536 win percentage. Trailing the Kings by just a game, although they do have one more win than Sacramento. 7-3 in their last 10, including a victory in their most recent outing. Third place is the Phoenix Suns, 29-26, 527 win percentage. 1.5 games behind Sacramento. 8-2 in their last 10 games, including back-to-back wins. Fourth place are the defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors at 27-26. 509 win percentage. 2.5 games behind the Kings, 6-4 in their last 10 games, including a victory in their most recent game. And in last place, the Los Angeles Lakers, 25-29, 463 win percentage, 5 games behind Sacramento, 5-5 in their last 10, including a loss in their most recent game. Again, the top 6 make the playoffs. 7 through 10 make the play-in tournament. The top 6 as it sits right now would be the Denver Nuggets at 37-17, firmly in control of that number 1 seed. Then you got the second seeded Memphis Grizzlies, 4.5 games out at 32-21. Then you have the number 3 seed, the Sacramento Kings, at 29-23. The Los Angeles Clippers are the number 4 seed at the present time at 30-26. Number 5 is the Phoenix Suns, 29-26. And number 6 would be the Dallas Mavericks at 28-26. And those would be your 6 teams that would clinch playoff spots. The 4 teams that would make the play-in tournament are the Minnesota Timberwolves at 29-27. They would be slotted in as the number 7 seed. The defending champion Golden State Warriors at 27-26, presently the number 8 seed. In fact, they are tied with the New Orleans Pelicans as far as win percentage goes. New Orleans is 28-27, but they would be bumped down to number 9. And then the Utah Jazz would be the last team in the Western Conference at 27-27 in that number 10 spot. Portland would only be a half game behind at 26-27. Oklahoma City a full game out at 25-27. Then it's the Lakers 2 games out at 25-29. San Antonio would be 12.5 games back at 14-39. And Houston would be 13.5 games out of that 10 spot at 13-40. So there's a look at the NBA records, the NBA standings, and playoff races in both conferences. Now let's jump over to the National Hockey League, which has been in its All-Star break since Thursday, and will resume regular season play tonight. But these are the records in the NHL and the playoff races entering the All-Star break. And we'll start off in the Eastern Conference, where the Boston Celtics, we're talking hockey now. We're not talking basketball no more. Anyway, the Boston Bruins lead the Atlantic Division with the NHL's best record. Through 51 games, they have a record of 39-7-5, which is 83 points. 37 wins coming in regulation or overtime. In second place are the Toronto Maple Leafs. 52 games played, 31-13-8 for 70 points, and 31 wins in regulation or overtime. Third place are the Tampa Bay Lightning. 48 games, 32-15-1 for 65 points, 31 wins in regulation or overtime. In fourth place, the Buffalo Sabres. Through 50 games, they're 26-20 with 4 overtime losses. Good for 56 points. 25 wins in regulation or overtime. In fifth place, the Florida Panthers. 52 games played, 24-22-6 for 54 points. 23 wins in regulation or overtime. Moving ahead in the sixth place are the Ottawa Senators. 50 games played, 24-23-3 for 51 points, and 23 wins in regulation or overtime. And falling behind the Senators into seventh place are the Detroit Red Wings. 48 games, 21-19-8 for 50 points, 20 wins in regulation or overtime. Eighth place is the Montreal Canadiens. 51 games, 20-27-4 for 44 points, 16 wins in regulation or overtime. In the Metropolitan Division, it's starting to become a runaway with the Carolina Hurricanes on top at 34-9-8 through 51 games. That's 76 points with 31 wins in regulation or overtime. In second place are the New Jersey Devils. 49 games played, 32-13-4 record for 68 points. And they too have 31 wins in regulation or overtime. The New York Rangers are sitting in third place. 49 games played, 27-14-8 for 62 points. 25 wins in regulation or overtime. Lurking just beneath them in fourth place are the Washington Capitals. 53 games played, 27-20-6, which is good for 60 points. 26 wins coming in regulation or overtime. Fifth place are the Pittsburgh Penguins. 49 games played, 24-16-9, 57 points, 23 wins in regulation or overtime. Sixth place are the New York Islanders. 52 games played, 25-22-5 for 55 points, and 25 wins in regulation or overtime. So all their victories have come in regulation or overtime. Same with the Philadelphia Flyers, seventh in this division. 51 games played, 21 wins, 21 losses, 9 overtime losses for 51 points. And again, all 21 of Philadelphia's wins coming in regulation or overtime. And sitting in the Eastern Conference cellar and overall the league cellar are the Columbus Blue Jackets. 51 games played and a record of 15-32-4 for 34 points and 14 wins in regulation or overtime. As it sits right now, the Boston Bruins at 83 points, the Toronto Maple Leafs at 70 points, and the Tampa Bay Lightning at 65 points would all make the playoffs as the top 3 teams in the Atlantic Division. The Carolina Hurricanes with 76 points. The New Jersey Devils with 68 points. And the New York Rangers with 62 points would each get in as the top three teams in the Metropolitan Division. As for the two wild card spots, they continue to be owned by both the Washington Capitals, lost my train of thought there, sorry about that, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Washington with 60 points would be the number one wild card team in the East. Pittsburgh would be the number two wild card team with 57 points. Buffalo would be a single point out behind the Penguins for that second wild card spot. The Islanders would be 2 points out. Florida would be 3 points out. Both Ottawa and Philadelphia would be 6 points out. Detroit, 7 points out. Montreal, 13 points out. And Columbus would be 23 points out. On to the Western Conference. The Central Division is a dogfight between the Dallas Stars and Winnipeg Jets. Dallas continues to lead the division by the hairs of their chinny chins. 51 games played, 28, 13, and 10 for 66 points, 27 wins in regulation or overtime. The aforementioned second place Winnipeg Jets played 52 games, and they're just a point behind Dallas, 32, 19, and 1 for 65 points. All 32 of Winnipeg's wins in regulation or overtime. Hanging on to that number 3 spot for dear life are the Minnesota Wild. 48 games played, 28, 17, and 4 for 58 points with 23 wins in regulation or overtime. They are trying to hold off the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Colorado Avalanche, currently in 4th place. Also 48 games played. They're 27, 18, and 3 for 57 points, and also 23 wins in regulation or overtime. The Nashville Predators reside in 5th place. 48 games played, 24, 18, and 6, 54 points, 22 wins in regulation or overtime. In 6th place, you have the St. Louis Blues. 51 games played, 23, 25, and 3 for 49 points, 20 wins in regulation or overtime. 7th place is the Arizona Coyotes. 50 games played, 16, 28, and 6, 38 points, 14 wins in regulation or overtime. And sitting in last place, and technically tied with Columbus for the fewest points of any team in the NHL, are the Chicago Blackhawks. 48 games played, 15, 29, and 4 for 34 points, 15 wins in regulation or overtime. All right, on to the Pacific Division, where we have a two-way tie in terms of points atop this division, with both the Seattle Kraken and the Los Angeles Kings. Seattle played 49 games. They're 29, 15, and 5 with 29 wins in regulation or overtime. Meanwhile, Los Angeles played 53 games. They're 28, 18, and 7 with 24 wins in regulation or overtime, and both teams sit with 63 points. Not too far behind them are the 3rd place Vegas Golden Knights. 51 games played, 29, 18, and 4, 62 points, 26 wins, regulation or overtime. In 4th place, you have the Edmonton Oilers, just 3 points from the top. 50 games played, 28, 18, and 4 for 60 points, 28 wins in regulation or overtime. 5th place are the Calgary Flames. 50 games played, 24, 17, and 9, 57 points, 23 wins in regulation or overtime. In sixth place are the Vancouver Canucks. 49 games played, 20, 26, and 3 for 43 points. 17 wins in regulation or overtime. Seventh place is the San Jose Sharks. 51 games played, 15, 25, and 11 for 41 points. And 14 wins in regulation or overtime. And sitting in last place in the Pacific Division are the Anaheim Ducks. 50 games played, 16, 29, and 5 for 37 points, 13 wins in regulation or overtime. As it sits right now, Dallas with 66 points, Winnipeg with 65 points, and Minnesota with 58 points would make the playoffs as the top three teams in the Central Division, while Seattle with 63 points, 49 games played, and Los Angeles, 63 points, 53 games played, as well as the Vegas Golden Knights at 62 points. They would get in as the top three teams in the Pacific Division. And it's the same two teams with the two wildcard spots in the Western Conference. Edmonton would be the number one wild card with 60 points. Colorado, who is tied with Calgary for that second wild card spot as far as points is concerned, they have 57. So Colorado would get in ahead of Calgary due to the fact that they've played two fewer games than the Flames. That's what the NHL calls games in hand. That's where a team has played fewer points than a team that they're tied with in the standings in terms of points. As the case here with the Avalanche and Flames. The Avalanche has played 48 games. The Flames have played 50 games and both have 57 points. So that's how Colorado gets into the playoffs and Calgary does not. Nashville would be 3 points out. St. Louis, 8 points out. Vancouver, 14 points out. San Jose, 16 points out. Arizona, 19 points out. Anaheim, 20 points out. And Chicago would be 23 points out. All right, so that's a look at the NHL standings and the playoff races entering the All-Star break in that league. And now I'm going to present to you my Super Bowl 57 prediction. I went position by position to see who had the edge in Sunday's big game. And I decided that Kansas City has the better quarterback. Better quarterback is Kansas City. I mean, come on, that's Patrick Mahomes. Whereas Jalen Hurts, he's playing in his first Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is playing in his third. So I say the edge at quarterback goes to the Chiefs. Running backs, you got to give it to the Eagles. Philadelphia has some very capable runners. They have Miles Sanders, they have Boston Scott, and they have Kenneth Gainwell. Kansas City has some pretty capable running backs themselves, led by Isaiah Pacheco. But I like the Eagles running backs in this matchup. And I like their... As for their skill players, I like Philly's skill players just a little bit more than Kansas City's skill players. Now, the Chiefs do have Travis Kelce. Probably the best tight end in the NFL today. But the Eagles, with that firepower, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, how can they be stopped? Offensive line, I got to give that to the Eagles as well. And no, I'm not being biased because I am an Eagles fan. I'm just calling it how I see it. All right, the defensive line, I've got to give that to the Eagles because I'm on 70 sacks, people. Linebacking core, that goes, I think the slight advantage at linebacker goes to the Chiefs. I'll give the slight advantage to the Chiefs. As for the defensive backfield, your corners and your safeties, I like Philly's playmakers on defense. As far as special teams, I think the Eagles do a better job covering kicks and punts. So I'm going with the Eagles there as well. Now, coaching, that's a no-brainer. It's got to be the Chiefs. I mean, Andy Reid and his staff are battle-tested. They've been here before. Whereas Nick Sirianni and his staff have not. So again, the coaching edge goes to the Chiefs. It's going to be a fun game, I think. You have the league's number one rated defense with an NFL leading 70 sacks going up against easily one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the history of the sport in Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not going to say that the Eagles offense are slouches either because they can put up points quite a bit. We've seen it all year. That being said, this is going to be a wild game. And no, I am not biased towards the Eagles because I am a fan. I'm just calling it how I see it. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game 28-24. As far as my Super Bowl 57 MVP, it's probably going to be someone out of the blue. I'm naming Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert as the Super Bowl 57 MVP. Now, I could have easily went A.J. Brown. I could have easily went Devonta Smith. I could have easily picked a defensive player like Brandon Graham or Ryan Cox. But I'm pulling one out of the hat, and I'm going to say that Dallas Goedert wins the MVP. Okay, that is it for today. We just looked at the NBA and NHL standings and playoff races, and I gave you my Super Bowl 57 predictions, both for the game and for MVP. We'll have another look at the standings in the NBA and the NHL next Monday, so join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. Get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the big game on Sunday. Peace out.